against the law. But Charlie, we did the work. We submitted all these documents. We have an evidentiary record second to none, and we won. We won at the district court level. Then we went to the Court of Appeals, the Fourth Circuit. They reversed. They said that there should be an injunction in place. So we thought, let's go to the U.S. Supreme Court. Let's take it to the High Court. The U.S. Supreme Court, though, unfortunately, in a procedural setback last week, decided that it is not going to lift the injunction. There's obviously an injunction now against the West Virginia law. I think that defies common sense and basic fairness, but I will say this to you, Charlie. This was a decision on a procedural ground. I think we're going to win on the merits. I'm going to keep fighting.
So
we are going to win.
It wasn't on the merits then. So can you explain what that means to our audience?
Absolutely. So when we went through the district court process, that was on the merits, right? So we went on the merits. Then the Circuit Court of Appeals in the Fourth Circuit, they decided to reinstate the injunction. And Charlie, they had no reasoning with their decision. We thought that that was an error, so we said, lift the injunction to allow us to go back to the Fourth Circuit and just argue the case on the merits. And the Supreme Court said no. So there are different standards when you're trying to remove an injunction versus simply deciding on the merits. And I think that the plaintiffs had argued that this wasn't an emergency. We argued that in fact it was, because it might encourage more people to pursue this pathway. You're overturning a democratically elected law, but they sent this back to the Fourth Circuit now. But it's procedural. I still think we're the very clear favorite on the merits.
Well, I think that's important, because I think some of the headlines were a little misleading then, because people thought the Supreme Court, like Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch, were weighing in on men participating in female sports. That is not the case in this regard, right?
No, I think that's right. It's a procedural issue. Now, look, would I prefer to have won? Do I think we should have won? Yes. We had Alito and Thomas join in the dissent, but I still have a lot of hope that when this gets up on the merits, that people are going to see, Charlie, it is consistent with Title IX that was trying to advance women's athletics. It is consistent with the Equal Protection Clause for the Constitution. We're trying to help protect women, and that's certainly permissible for a state legislature.
So then what's the next step? Another appeal? Are you guys going to try to go back to the process?
Yeah, so here's what we're doing now. We're going back through the Fourth Circuit. We're finishing our submissions. We'll be all done with our submissions by June, and then we'll have an oral argument. And I bet whatever happens in the Fourth Circuit, there's a very, very meaningful chance that sometime next year, whoever loses at the Fourth Circuit is going to file again to go up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But let me tell you one of the things, Charlie. This issue seems to be animating everyone in America, and they've been coming after me. The woke left has made me their target. And I would just say, look, if you care about defending women's sports, I need your help. Go to PatrickMorrissey.com and chip in $10. Help us out. We're leading the national charge. And not only on this issue, but the new federal regulation that was proposed last week as well, which is also terrible. They're trying to deprive educational institutions of money if people don't agree with their woke ways. And that's another battle in this incredibly important fight.
So just in closing, just remind our audience what you're running for and what the significance of it, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I am now running for governor of the great state of West Virginia, and if people like the work we've done, taking on the woke left and defending women's sports, they're going to love what we're going to do as governor. Chip in $10 at PatrickMorrissey.com, and let's help us fight because we still need to win this fight and many others.
Mr. Morrissey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
So I want to talk Budweiser. Last week, I know many of you guys saw the advertisement that came out, or it seemed to be a promotional campaign of Mulvaney getting this can from Bud Light. And I was really, really confused. I know many of you were too. And I'll tell you what kind of was the basis of my confusion. Obviously, this is a bad move by Budweiser, no doubt. And I was so bothered by this, obviously sent out some tweets, we talked about it on the show, and I decided to start asking what's going on. I know that are connected with the issue, or at least kind of remotely to the company, like, guys, this doesn't seem right. Let me tell you why, because you're kind of looking at the landscape of corporations. Coca-Cola, okay, I expect strange and weird things from Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola paid a huge bucket of money to have Robin DiAngelo come in and talk about how to be an anti-racist. you remember that the slideshow that came out of Coca-Cola where they said that we have to try to abolish whiteness or something of that variety? Or Nike's one of the worst, as we just talked about with Ollie London. Nike, who hired Colin Kaepernick, or Disney. I mean, Disney, who comes out and they publish blatant and flagrant LGBTQ propaganda as actual content. Expected from them. Or remember the Major League Baseball, who comes out and they say, yeah, we're moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta, which is heavily and significantly black, and going to Denver. But Anheuser-Busch, I'll be really honest, I was bothered by this because I don't drink, and I know many of you drink or you don't, whatever, no moral judgment there. I just personally don't drink. That you feel an attachment to Anheuser-Busch. That it's this Americana brand that started in this country, and quite honestly, we thought of this brand as something that was supposed to be safe, as something that was off limits. And so I decided to look into this because it just did not make any sense. A very legendary brand across the board, and it was like, my goodness, like you lose Coca-Cola and you lose Nike and you lose Disney, and Budweiser, or Bud Light or whatever, I mean it was Bud Light, but obviously under Anheuser-Busch, held up its quality for quite some time. And so I looked into this, I started to ask around, and based on all reports, it seems as if it was a mid-level management screw-up of somebody that sent out like a specific can. It's not a commemorative can, is what I've been told by people associated with the company, that it wasn't being sold in stores or anything like that. But I do think it's interesting, because I said, okay, well, what are their politics, right? Like, do they associate with us? Do they not? And so I looked into it. At the 2022 cycle, Anheuser-Busch donated nearly $500,000 to try to get J.D. Vance elected, nearly $464,000 to try to fire Nancy Pelosi, $250,000 to try to win the Senate seat with Eric Schmidt, $200,000 for just broad Republican efforts, and they gave a little bit, like a micron to Democrats. It's okay, so they generally through their contributions, and they say they give it because of taxes and for trade policy, but they're not just gone to the other side completely, and so it's a massive company. And it's possible that a few wokies slip things through, and it appears that that is the case. And look, so they donate money to Pelosi, to fire Pelosi. They donate money to fire J.D. Vance. It's not Google, right? And I think that's why so many of us were bothered from this, because this idea of institutional capture is troublesome. How many other brands have we just said, wow, that's what it means to be, you know, not Budweiser is what it means to be an American, but it's like an American brand. We have an attachment to it. We think highly of it. It started in America. Their advertisements were always very pro-American. Ford, for example. And based on what I've learned, this seems to be an error. It seems to be a mistake, one that has cost them some money, and I hope that it's just a one-time thing and they turn away from it. But they also don't seem to be overly political, and that's something I do want to mention, is that after January 6th, because I started asking around to some of the big kind of DC groups, I said, hey, you know, after January 6th, many people stopped giving money to Republican groups. Anheuser-Busch continued. Okay, that's interesting. And they just seem to want to be non-political at every turn. That's what made this concerning. So look, the evidence seems that this is a one-off screw-up. I certainly hope it doesn't happen again. I don't know anyone directly with the company. I didn't talk to anyone directly. They're just people that are associated kind of in the orbit. I don't know their personal politics. But you look at it, Harley Davidson, Levi Strauss. I just made a list here. PepsiCo. You look at one after PepsiCo is gone completely and totally woke. Not to mention the ones that have signed on to this trans corporate bathroom bill. Anheuser-Busch refused to sign on to it. Airbnb, Amazon, American Airlines, Apple, AT&T, Capital One, Comcast, Dell, Facebook, General Mills, General Motors, Google, Marriott, MasterCard, Microsoft, Nike, T-Mobile, Toyota, Walt Disney, Wells Fargo, Yahoo, sign on to that letter. And so, I guess we'll find out, right, as time proceeds. But they're donating money to go get J.D. Vance elected and to go get Nancy Pelosi fired. It is possible, it is conceivable you can have one slip through. So we'll find out. And by the way, if we found out throughout our research, because I always want to give you the truth, that these people were super woke and they hate the country, then I would tell you that, obviously. But it would be a tragedy to lose Anheuser-Busch to the wokies, wouldn't it? So I hope a lesson is learned here. I hope that people are held accountable, whatever that looks like. Because I was bothered by this. I know you were too. We got so many emails about it. Email after email after email. So I wanted to find out what the heck was going on. That another American brand that we care so much about. But it doesn't seem, at least in this case, that that's the entire picture. And I certainly hope that's true. Because I, for one, I'm really sick of losing some of the institutions to the radical woke left. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. I want to get to a question here. Charlie, are you going to talk more about the Restrict Act? I'm very worried about it. Yes, we're in touch with a senator's office who is a co-sponsor of the Restrict Act. And if you are interested in that, you're going to want to see that. It's going to be amazing. One of the co-sponsors might come on the program to defend the Restrict Act. The widespread censorship campaign, which is one of the worst pieces of legislation I have seen in recent memory. So producer Andrew is in the final stages to try to secure that. I'm not going to tell you what senator it is. Our policy remains, we'll allow you to talk uninterrupted, make the case, whether you're running for president, you're a local congressperson. Tell us why we need a Patriot Act 2.0, a new censorship regime given to the Secretary of Commerce, an unelected, unknown bureaucrat, to be able to silence our speech. We're just curious. Come on the program. So yes, we are going to talk about restricting. The email is freedom@charliekirk.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Open up your podcast app and type in Charlie Kirk Show and subscribe and download a couple episodes. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. We'll be right back.
Dryer here to talk about all-natural ingredient Balance 7. Do you suffer from heartburn, can't eat the foods you like? Then you need Balance 7. Balance 7 improves the acid-alkaline balance in the body. The right pH balance helps increase energy, memory, sleep, and it helps unlock your immune system. Balance 7 works. I know because I use it every day. So go ahead, eat that pepperoni pizza without heartburn. And now you can try Balance 7 and get $15 off your order. Free shipping, a money-back guarantee, plus a free bottle of my smooth skin. Call 800-793-9039 and mention my name, Fred. 3 one-ounce sips a day is all you need. Try Balance 7, 800-793-9039. Code word Fred. You have nothing to lose with a money-back guarantee. 800-793-9039. Code word Fred. Or go to balance7.com.
That's Andrew here. I call my favorite financial vehicle the Laser Fund. Laser is an acronym that stands for Liquid Assets Safely Earning Returns. The Laser Fund eliminates the dangers of rising taxes, inflation, and market uncertainty. You know, losing money when the stock market goes down is unacceptable to me. Learn how I protect myself when that happens. I want you to have a free copy of my latest best-selling book, The Laser Fund, How to Diversify and Create the Foundation for a Tax-Free Retirement. Especially if you have money trapped in an IRA or 401k, learn what you can do better. Call now to claim your free copy. I'll send out a copy via priority mail. I'll cover the shipping. Simply call 925-430-7878. That's 925-430-7878. Call 925-430-7878.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. So how do you get on the Supreme Court in Wisconsin? Evidently, you break all the rules, declare your position on issues that will come before the court, and run with lots of liberal outside funding. That's how Milwaukee Judge Janet Protasewicz won her runoff race on April the 4th. The race will go down as the most expensive judicial race in American history, at least so far. Judge Protasewicz ran to the left, breaking convention and setting up likely challenges to her role in future cases by declaring her values, such as a right to abortion. That issue is sure to come before the court in short order, as will the establishment of congressional districts in Wisconsin. Americans easily forget how important the courts are, and this is a wake-up call for conservatives. If we keep losing elections like this one, we will see the left take over the courts seat by seat. Did we work so hard for 50 years, only to surrender now? I'm Albert Mohler.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Is God obsolete?
Do you think religion is good for the world?
It only causes troubles and war.
Our culture is shifting ever closer to atheism or irreligion. Today, the fastest growing religion is no religion at all.
Our fight in this world is not against Islam, it's against religion.
This is Kevin Sorbo. In the new movie Irreligious Nation, my family and I traveled to Israel to explore our faith and examine how lack of religion, disconnection, and cynicism affects culture and society worldwide.
Should we be paying any attention to faith? Is faith important? If God exists, is he even relevant today?
Is there really objective truth, or is it true to say everyone has their own truth?
Why are we losing our religion? You may, but I know right from wrong.
These people who say, I don't need faith, I can be a good person, can they?
Does religion even matter? Watch Irreligious Nation at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
Are you tired of residential tenancy laws in California and wish there was a better way to invest in real estate? Hi, I'm Matt Hagar, president of Intero Commercial East Bay. We specialize in helping residential property owners transition their portfolios into commercial assets leased to tenants such as Walgreens, Starbucks, and the U.S. government. These properties offer around 3 times the cash flow of a single-family investment, and all expenses are paid by the tenant. If you'd like to know more, visit Hagar.group. That's Hagar.group. Welcome back, everybody. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. I don't think people realize this because we're getting a lot of emails on Budweiser. Play cut 38. This is actually like an anti-beta male advertisement. I thought this is a good advertisement from Bud Light. Play cut 38. One email here. Charlie, you're trying to say that Budweiser is actually political? No, I actually think they're not political, to be honest. Like, I think that they're just trying to do their job, and that this was a one-time mix-up and mess-up. That's what I'm trying to say. Paul from Kansas is asking that. I think that they do what's best for their own interest, and that's actually what we want. We actually want a company that provides a service and is not trying to be involved in every social cause. And quite honestly, there are so many other companies to hit, like Coca-Cola, that actually lobbies for changing in Georgia voting laws, or Nike. I mean, it seems as if this is just kind of a marketing person that wanted to change the company single-handedly. It's against the fiber and the DNA of how Budweiser is operating. So no, I actually don't think that they're political. I think that they make beer, and that's what they've always done. So to answer that question, okay, I want to play another piece of tape here. Let's go to this one. I've been meaning to get to this story, but we've had so many other things going on here. There's a lot going on with the Pentagon leaks. We're going to build out that story in greater and further detail tomorrow as it kind of still comes available, but I think it's really interesting. John Kirby says leaking classified information has no business on the front page of newspapers or on television. Now, tax returns are not necessarily classified, but they are private and confidential. Remember when the New York Times published Donald Trump's tax returns right before the 2020 election? People forget about that. Or how about Supreme Court justice rulings that are leaked preemptively? Who was arrested for that? Play cut 27.
Again, without confirming the validity of the documents, this is information that has no business in the public domain. It has no business, if you don't mind me saying, on the pages of front pages of newspapers or on television. It is not intended for public consumption, and it should not be out there.
So they're talking about how it's not clear for public consumption. That's all they do is reward leaks that fit their narrative. The Supreme Court leaks, they leak a draft of an opinion of Roe versus Wade. Now, why did that matter? It allowed the left-wing donors and activist groups an opportunity